The year was 1941. America stood at the edge of World War II, and everyday life was changing rapidly. But in the world of coin collecting, something extraordinary was happening quietly at the United States Mint. That year, millions of Lincoln wheat pennies were struck, yet among them, a handful of rare, nearly perfect coins emerged, coins that today are worth tens of thousands of dollars. One of the most mysterious and valuable of them all is the 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny. While most people may see an old copper coin and overlook it, collectors and numismatists know that this small piece of metal can be worth as much as $77,265 in today's market. Before we get into what makes this coin so valuable, let's take a step back in history. The Lincoln wheat penny, also known as the wheat cent, was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait, the beloved 16th president. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin featured Lincoln's bust on the obverse, or front, and 2 wheat ears on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and growth. This design remained in circulation until 1958, when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. Now, the 1941 penny holds a special place in this history. It was produced in 3 main mints that year: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The coins from Denver have a small D mint mark below the date, and the San Francisco coins bear an S. However, the 1941 no mint mark penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which did not use mint marks at that time. These Philadelphia struck coins are the ones without any letter beneath the date, and it's these no mint mark versions that have drawn so much attention for their rarity and value today. More than 887 million of these pennies were minted in Philadelphia in 1941, which might make you think they're common, and indeed, most of them are. But what sets certain 1941 no-mint mark pennies apart is their exceptional condition, unique striking errors, and flawless preservation over the decades. When a coin survives in pristine mint state condition, meaning it has never been circulated or touched by human hands, it becomes a collector's dream. Such coins, especially those graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC as MS67 or MS68 red, can command staggering prices at auction.so. Why exactly is the 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny valued at $77,265? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand. Let's start with the first factor, condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless coin. Most 1941 pennies you find in circulation today are worn brown and show years of use. But in the rarest cases, a few have survived in brilliant, uncirculated condition with a bright red luster, sharp strike, and absolutely no visible imperfections. These top-graded examples are the ones fetching huge prices. One of the most famous auction results for this coin came when a 1941 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny graded MS68 red by PCGS sold for over $77,000. This sale stunned collectors and investors alike, proving that even a coin over 80 years old and originally worth just 1 cent could become a true treasure. The rarity of that grade and the coin's exceptional eye appeal made it a centerpiece for any advanced Lincoln cent collection. But condition isn't the only reason some 1941 pennies are valuable. Error coins from that year can also be worth a fortune. For instance, there are 1941 double-die obverse pennies, where you can clearly see doubling on the date, or on the words, Liberty, and In God We Trust. These errors happened when the die that stamped the coin shifted slightly during production, causing a doubled image. Depending on the clarity and visibility of the doubling, such coins can be worth anywhere from a few $100s to several thousand. Another sought-after variety is the off-center strike, where the design is not perfectly aligned with the planchet. Some off-center 1941 pennies show as much as 50% of the design missing, with a blank crescent of copper on one side. These kinds of minting mistakes can easily bring in $200 to $1,000 depending on their appearance and condition. Then there are die cracks and die breaks, natural defects that occur when the coin dies begin to wear out or crack. Some collectors love these imperfections because they add uniqueness to each coin. A 1941 penny with a dramatic die break, often called a cut, can be worth hundreds of dollars to the right buyer. But even if you don't find an error coin, you should still check your old pennies carefully. Many people have 1941 wheat pennies sitting in jars, drawers, or old family collections, unaware of their potential worth. The majority might only be worth 5 to 20 cents in circulated condition, but if you find one in mint red condition, you could be holding on to a small fortune. It's also worth noting that during the early 1940s, the United States Mint was under immense pressure to produce large quantities of coins due to wartime demands. The U.S. was preparing for World War II, and copper, which was the main metal used in pennies, would soon become a critical material for ammunition and military supplies. This led to the famous steel penny of 1943, when copper was temporarily removed from penny production. So the 1941 penny represents one of the last years before this major wartime change in materials, a true pre-war artifact. For collectors, the 1941 no-mint mark penny is not just a coin, it's a piece of history. It carries the story of America's resilience, the artistry of the mint, and the craftsmanship of a bygone era. Its design reflects simplicity and strength, and its survival in perfect condition after more than 8 decades is nothing short of remarkable. Now, if you're wondering how to check if your 1941 penny might be valuable, here's what to look for. First, examine the color. Coins are categorized as brown, BN, red-brown, RB, or full red RD. The redder the coin, the higher the potential value. That's because red indicates minimal oxidation and the coin's original copper luster is still intact. A 1941 penny graded MS68 red is an extreme rarity. There are only a handful known to exist. Second, look closely for any doubling in the lettering or date using a magnifying glass. If you see any doubling or unusual features, your coin may be an error variety. And third, always check the coin's surface for scratches, wear, or cleaning marks. Coins that have been cleaned or polished lose a lot of collector value, even if they look shiny. When you find a promising coin, the best next step is to get it professionally graded by a reputable grading service. The most trusted ones are PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. Having your coin graded not only authenticates it but also gives it a certified grade, which can drastically increase its market value. Collectors today are willing to pay top dollar for the finest examples of early Lincoln wheat pennies. With increasing demand for high-grade coins, prices have been climbing steadily. Over the past decade, the value of the 1941 no-mint mark penny in mint condition has skyrocketed, especially at major auctions like Heritage and Stack's Bowers. Coins that once sold for a few $1,000s are now breaking the $50,000 mark and beyond. What's truly fascinating about this particular coin is that it shows how something as small and ordinary as a penny can hold immense value when rarity, condition, and history align. Each coin tells a story, not only of the time in which it was made but also of the journey it took to survive in near-perfect condition. Imagine all the years that have passed, all the hands it could have gone through, and yet somehow it remained untouched, protected, and preserved until today. The $77,265 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny is a perfect example of how coin collecting can turn everyday objects into priceless artifacts. For many, this hobby begins with curiosity, checking old coins, searching through change, or inheriting a jar of pennies from a grandparent. But sometimes, that simple curiosity can lead to incredible discoveries worth tens of thousands of dollars. So, what should you do next? Take some time to go through your collection. Look carefully at every 1941 penny you come across. Don't dismiss one just because it looks old or dull. Clean it gently with a soft cloth if necessary, but never use chemicals or polish. And if you think your coin looks unusually sharp, has a full red color, or appears uncirculated, consider getting it appraised or graded. You never know, you could be holding the next record-breaking penny. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises. Among the thousands of coins produced each year, a few stand out as true treasures, rare, mysterious, and incredibly valuable. One such legendary coin is the 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny. This humble 1-cent coin, made during the era of World War II, has captivated collectors for decades, not only for its fascinating history but also for its astonishing value. Believe it or not, a single 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny has been sold for an incredible $52,989, turning what once seemed like an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. Let's dive into the story behind this extraordinary coin, its origin, its unique features, why it's so valuable today, and how you can identify one if you happen to find it in your own collection or spare change. The 1944 wheat penny was minted during a time of great change. The United States was deep in the Second World War, and every resource mattered. Copper, which was normally used to mint pennies, was desperately needed for wartime materials, bullets, shell casings, and communication wires. Because of this, in 1943, the U.S. Mint switched to using zinc-coated steel to conserve copper for the war effort. These 1943 steel cents had a shiny silver-like appearance, very different from the traditional bronze pennies. However, by 1944, with the war nearing its end, the U.S. Mint decided to return to the copper alloy for penny production. But here's where things get interesting. During this transition back to copper, a few errors occurred. Some 1944 pennies were accidentally struck on leftover steel planchets from 1943. This created one of the most famous minting mistakes in American history, the 1944 steel penny. But even among the copper 1944 wheat pennies, there's another special kind that stands out, the 1944 no-mint mark variety from the Philadelphia Mint. This version was struck in huge numbers, but not all of them are equal. Some have specific features and striking details that make them extremely rare and valuable today. The no-mint mark indicates it was made in Philadelphia, which traditionally didn't use a mint mark on pennies. Now, you might be wondering, how can a regular copper penny from 1944 be worth nearly $53,000? The answer lies in the coin's condition, its rarity, and specific minting characteristics that distinguish it from the rest. First, let's talk about composition. The 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny was made from an alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. The coin weighs around 3.11 grams and measures 19 millimeters in diameter. On the obverse side, it features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, with the words, "In God We Trust." Along the top edge, Liberty on the left, and the date, 1944, on the right. On the reverse side, you'll find the two wheat stalks surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America, along with E Pluribus Unum at the top. Most 1944 no-mint mark wheat pennies are common and may only be worth a few cents or $1 or $2 depending on their wear. But it's the exceptional ones, those struck with perfect precision, preserved in flawless condition, or containing unusual die errors, that bring in the big money. Collectors look for coins with a brilliant luster, sharp strike, and little to no wear on Lincoln's cheekbone, hair, or coat. The highest grade examples, often graded MS-67 or higher by professional coin grading services like PCGS or NGC, are where the big value comes in. Some of the most valuable 1944 wheat pennies have unique characteristics such as off-center strikes, double die errors, or planchet anomalies. A double die error, for instance, occurs when the coin's design is accidentally impressed twice on the die at slightly different angles, creating a visible doubling effect on the letters or date. If you come across a 1944 no-mint mark penny with doubled lettering on Liberty or In God We Trust, it could be worth a small fortune. But the real star of the show is the rare 1944 wheat penny struck on a steel planchet instead of copper. Because only a few of these errors were made at the Philadelphia Mint, they are considered among the rarest coins in American numismatics. Some of these have fetched tens of thousands of dollars at major auctions. In pristine condition, even the regular copper 1944 no-mint mark penny can fetch astonishing prices if it's been well preserved and professionally graded. For example, one such coin graded MS-67 Plus read by PCGS sold for an astounding $52,989. That's more than the value of a brand new luxury car, all for a 1-cent coin from over 80 years ago. what makes this particular coin so desirable? It's all about its perfect preservation and stunning red luster. Over time, most copper coins develop brown or reddish-brown toning due to oxidation, but coins that retain their full red shine from the day they were minted are extremely rare. Collectors and investors prize these red designations, and the value increases dramatically depending on how much original color remains. Now let's talk about how you can identify if your 1944 penny might be valuable. Start by looking at the mint mark. If it has no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. Next, check the coin's color: red, red-brown, or brown. The redder the coin, the more valuable it tends to be. Then, carefully examine it for any visible doubling in the text or numbers, or any off-center strikes. Also, weigh your coin if possible. A standard copper 1944 penny should weigh around 3.11 grams. If yours weighs around 2.7 grams and doesn't stick to a magnet, it could be a steel planchet error, potentially worth a fortune. If it does stick to a magnet, then it's almost certainly one of those extremely rare 1944 steel cents. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 1.4 billion 1944 pennies, which makes finding one in circulation today fairly common, but finding one in pristine, untouched condition, or one struck on a steel planchet, is almost impossible. Over the years, collectors have discovered that even small imperfections or differences can create massive differences in price. A 1944 no-mint mark penny in poor condition might be worth 5 or 10 cents, while a high-grade, mint-state red example could fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars. And as we mentioned, the finest known example brought nearly $53,000 at auction. Now, why do people pay so much for these coins? For collectors, it's not just about the metal or the face value, it's about history, rarity, and preservation. A coin like the 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny tells a story of an era when America was at war, when resources were scarce, and when even a simple copper penny represented the strength and resilience of the nation. Beyond that, collecting rare coins has also become a serious investment market. With values rising year after year, owning a rare wheat penny is like owning a piece of history that appreciates over time. Some collectors specialize in building full sets of Lincoln wheat pennies from 1909 to 1958, and completing that set with rare, high-grade examples can significantly increase its overall worth. For anyone interested in collecting, the key takeaway is this: always check your old coins carefully. Even an ordinary-looking penny could turn out to be worth thousands of dollars. Store them properly. Avoid handling them with bare hands to prevent oils from damaging the surface. Keep them in a dry, safe environment, ideally in protective holders or slabs if they're graded. If you suspect your 1944 penny might be special, get it evaluated by a professional coin grading service. They can authenticate it, determine its condition, and assign a grade that can dramatically influence its market value. It's also important to remember that auctions can sometimes surprise everyone. When a rare coin comes up for sale, collectors from around the world compete to own it, and bidding wars can drive prices higher than anyone expects. That's exactly what happened with the 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny that sold for $52,989. Its exceptional color, condition, and rarity made it irresistible to collectors. So, the next time you're sorting through an old coin jar or a box of keepsakes from your grandparents, pay special attention to those wheat pennies. Look for the 1944 date, check if there's no mint mark, and inspect every detail. You might just be holding a small fortune without even knowing it. The 1944 no mint mark wheat penny isn't just a coin, it's a story of American perseverance, a symbol of history, and a reminder that even the smallest pieces of metal can hold incredible value. With the market price reaching $52,989, this penny proves that treasures don't always have to shine in gold or silver, sometimes they're hidden in copper. The story of the 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny is one that has fascinated coin collectors, historians, and treasure hunters for decades. What makes a small copper coin from the post-war era so valuable? How can a single penny, worth just 1 cent when minted, now command an unbelievable price tag of over $92,000 in today's coin market? In this video, we're going to uncover the secrets, the history, and the incredible value behind the 1946 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn everything about one of the most talked about coins from the mid-20th century. Let's begin with a bit of historical background. The year 1946 was an important one for the United States. World War II had just ended the year before, and America was entering a new era of economic recovery and industrial growth. The U.S. Mint was also adjusting to changes in metal usage, since wartime demands had previously forced it to alter coin compositions. During the war years, especially in 1943, pennies were made of zinc-coated steel instead of the usual copper. This was done to save copper for ammunition and other military needs. But by 1946, the mint had returned to using its standard bronze composition, which consisted of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. The 1946 Lincoln wheat penny features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, which first appeared in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. The obverse shows Lincoln's profile facing right, along with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust." Along the top, Liberty, to the left, and the date, 1946, to the right. The reverse side showcases the iconic wheat ears design framing the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, with E pluribus unum across the top. This design was used from 1909 until 1958, before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. Now, when it comes to the 1946 no-mint mark penny, the term no-mint mark means that it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. In 1946, 3 U.S. mints struck Lincoln wheat pennies: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins struck in Denver carry a D mint mark below the date, those from San Francisco have an S, and those from Philadelphia traditionally have no mint mark at all. The Philadelphia Mint produced an enormous number of 1946 pennies, over 991 million, to be exact. So at first glance, you might think this coin is common. But as with many collectible coins, the true value lies not in quantity, but in condition, rarity of errors, and specific varieties. Let's talk about the physical details. The 1946 no-mint mark penny has a diameter of 19 millimeters, weighs about 3.11 grams, and is made primarily of copper. Over time, these coins can develop a rich reddish-brown or dark brown patina, depending on how they've been stored. However, collectors seek out coins that have retained their original red luster, the bright copper color that a penny has when it first leaves the mint. These red coins are far rarer and command premium prices at auction. Now here's where the story gets exciting. While millions of 1946 wheat pennies exist, a select few have fetched extraordinary prices due to their pristine condition and rarity. For instance, a 1946 no-mint mark penny graded as MS67 read by PCGS or NGC, meaning it is in near-perfect mint state condition with full original color, has been sold for jaw-dropping prices at auctions. One such coin reached a record value of $92,736. That's right, nearly $93,000 for a single 1-cent piece. But how is that possible? The answer lies in a combination of factors: historical significance, collector demand, and condition rarity. Most 1946 pennies circulated heavily, passing from hand to hand in everyday commerce for decades. As a result, they became scratched, worn, and lost their original mint luster. Finding a coin that has survived for almost 80 years without any wear, maintaining that bright red copper sheen, is exceptionally rare. When a coin like that appears on the market, collectors are willing to pay a premium to own a piece of history in its purest form. In addition to condition, there are also certain error and variety coins from 1946 that drive up value even more. For example, some 1946 wheat pennies exhibit die cracks, doubled dies, or off-center strikes. A double die error occurs when the coin's design is struck twice by misaligned dies, causing letters, numbers, or design details to appear doubled. Such errors are highly sought after by numismatists because they're unique. No two error coins are exactly alike. A well-preserved double-die 1946 penny can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on its clarity and condition. Another interesting point is the transitional context of the 1940s. After using steel for pennies in 1943, the U.S. Mint faced some challenges with metal contamination in the following years. As a result, a few 1946 pennies might have trace amounts of leftover wartime metals. These subtle differences make them even more interesting to study under a microscope. For collectors, every variation tells a story, a tiny glimpse into how the mint operated in those years after the war. When evaluating your own 1946 no-mint mark penny, pay close attention to several things. First, examine the overall condition. Does it still have its reddish shine, or has it turned brown or dark? Look for sharp details in Lincoln's hair, coat, and the wheat stalks on the reverse. Next, inspect for any unusual marks, doubling, or weak strikes. You can use a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass for this. Finally, consider sending your coin to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC if you believe it's in exceptional condition. Having an official grade significantly increases its market value because it gives buyers confidence in the coin's authenticity and quality. The grading scale used by professionals ranges from PUR, P1, to mint state, MS70. Most circulated 1946 pennies fall between grades G4, good, and XF45, extremely fine, worth a few cents to maybe a few dollars. Uncirculated examples in grades MS60 to MS65 can range from $10 to several $100s. But it's those extremely rare top-tier coins, graded MS67 or higher, with brilliant red color and flawless surfaces, that reach prices like $92, $7.36. Let's talk about where and how these coins get sold. Some of the highest prices for 1946 wheat pennies have come from major auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers. These platforms attract serious collectors from around the world who are willing to compete for the finest examples. Online marketplaces such as eBay also see occasional high-grade sales, though authenticity and grading play a big role in final prices. It's always best to rely on certified coins when dealing with valuable pieces. Now imagine for a moment finding one of these rare coins in your own collection. Maybe you inherited a jar of old pennies from a grandparent, or perhaps you've been searching through coin rolls from the bank. The idea that a small copper coin sitting in your drawer could be worth tens of thousands of dollars is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. Many collectors start out casually and end up developing a lifelong passion for numismatics, the study and collection of coins. Speaking of passion, one of the most fascinating aspects of the 1946 wheat penny is how it connects to American history. This coin circulated during a period of optimism, when families were rebuilding after the war and the economy was booming. It was the coin children used to buy candy, the coin soldiers might have carried home in their pockets, and the coin that symbolized everyday life in a recovering nation. To hold a 1946 penny today is to hold a piece of that history, a tangible link to a generation of resilience and change. Let's also address some myths and misconceptions. Some people believe that all 1946 pennies are valuable, but that's not the case. The vast majority of them are worth only their copper content, or a few cents to collectors. The extraordinary value comes from the rarest conditions and varieties. So if you have a 1946 penny, don't assume it's worth a fortune right away. Examine it carefully and do your research. Look for those rare high-grade examples with brilliant color and minimal marks. It's also worth noting that coin values can fluctuate with the market. The price of copper, collector demand, and auction trends all influence how much a coin sells for. But coins like the 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny have a strong historical appeal that tends to keep their value stable, or even rising over time. Rare high-grade coins almost always appreciate as the pool of available examples shrinks. In the world of coin collecting, few treasures capture the imagination quite like the humble yet historic Lincoln wheat penny. And among them, the 1948 no-mint mark wheat penny stands out as a true gem, a coin that has quietly transformed from pocket change to a valuable artifact worth an astonishing $82,983 in today's market. This little coin, minted over 7 decades ago, holds a story of craftsmanship, scarcity, and pure numismatic wonder. So, in this video, we're going to dive deep into the fascinating world of the 1948 no-mint mark wheat penny, uncover its origin, history, design details, errors, and explain why collectors are willing to pay small fortunes for this modest 1-cent coin. Let's start by traveling back in time to the year 1948. America was recovering from the aftermath of World War II. The economy was booming, industries were expanding, and people were optimistic about the future. In this era of growth and reconstruction, the United States Mint continued producing the famous Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that had already become a familiar sight in everyone's pocket since its introduction in 1909. But what made the 1948 penny different from earlier years wasn't just its time of issue, it was the quality, the rarity, and a few subtle variations that would eventually make it one of the most sought-after pennies ever made. The 1948 Lincoln wheat penny was struck at 3 different minting facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. However, the most intriguing of them all is the one struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the version with no mint mark. The absence of a mint mark might seem insignificant to an untrained eye, but to collectors, it signals something special. It identifies that the coin was produced in Philadelphia, the oldest and original minting facility of the United States. Coins from this mint are often known for their clean design and careful striking, but in 1948, only a limited number of no-mint mark wheat pennies were preserved in pristine condition, making them exceptionally rare today. The coin's design itself carries historical weight. The obverse, or front, features the timeless image of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. His portrait symbolizes unity, strength, and the enduring spirit of the nation. Around the portrait are the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 1948. The reverse side, known as the wheat reverse, is equally iconic. It displays 2 wheat stalks surrounding the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, with the motto, E Pluribus Unum, arching along the top. These wheat stalks were not just decorative, they represented prosperity and the fruits of labor, a fitting message for a post-war America rebuilding itself from hardship. Now you might wonder, how does a 1-cent coin from 1948 reach a staggering value of $82,983? The answer lies in condition, rarity, and collector demand. Most 1948 no-mint mark wheat pennies circulated heavily. They passed through thousands of hands, endured years of wear, and lost much of their original luster. But a handful of coins survived in uncirculated or mint state condition, preserved by chance in rolls or coin collections. These few examples, especially those graded mint state 67 or higher by professional grading services, can command enormous prices at auctions. The brilliance of the copper, the crispness of Lincoln's details, and the absence of marks make these coins nearly perfect, and in the world of coin grading, perfection always means value. Another fascinating aspect that fuels the value of the 1948 penny is the metal composition. By 1948, the Lincoln wheat penny was made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a formula that had been standard since 1909, except for the brief steel composition during World War II in 1943. The rich copper tone of the 1948 issue gives it a warm, vintage look that collectors love. Over time, copper develops beautiful natural toning, and when well preserved, this toning can add thousands of dollars to a coin's price. A bright red or red-brown 1948 penny in gem condition is far more valuable than one that has turned completely brown with oxidation. Let's talk about the errors and varieties, because error coins are the heartbeat of numismatic excitement. Some 1948 no-mint mark wheat pennies display fascinating minting mistakes that make them even more desirable. Among these are double die errors, where certain letters or numbers appear doubled under magnification, giving the coin a unique look. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't perfectly aligned during the minting process, creating an uneven rim. Other errors include die cracks, die clashes, and repunch dates, all of which can significantly boost the coin's value, sometimes pushing even ordinary 1948 pennies into the thousands of dollars range. For example, a 1948 penny showing strong doubling on the date, or the word, Liberty, might be worth anywhere from $500 to $5,000 depending on the sharpness and visibility of the doubling. An uncirculated double-die version can be a once-in-a-lifetime find, fetching tens of thousands at major auctions. That's why collectors often keep magnifying lenses and proper lighting handy when examining older coins, because small details can mean massive profits. One of the most famous sales of a 1948 no-mint Mark Wheat penny occurred at a major U.S. coin auction, where a coin graded MS-68 red sold for a jaw-dropping $82,983. The buyer was a serious collector who had been searching for a perfect example for years. What made that coin extraordinary was its full red color, mirror-like luster, and flawless strike, qualities so rare that fewer than 5 coins of that grade are known to exist today. That single sale cemented the 1948 penny's place among the elite coins of the Lincoln series. When we discuss the 1948 no-mint Mark Wheat penny, it's not just about the money, it's about history and preservation. Every coin tells a story. The Lincoln Wheat penny series, which ran from 1909 to 1958, represents an era of American resilience and pride. It witnessed 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and the rise of a new industrial age. Each penny minted during those decades is like a snapshot of America's past, and owning one connects you to that story in a tangible way. If you happen to come across a 1948 penny, don't overlook it. Examine the coin closely. Look for a strong strike, clear lettering, and full details on Lincoln's hair and coat. Check the color. Is it bright red, red-brown, or completely brown? Each tone affects its value. Then inspect for any unusual features, such as doubling or misalignment. If your coin seems uncirculated or nearly flawless, consider having it professionally graded by services like PCGS or NGC. Even a single point increase in grade could mean thousands of dollars in additional value. Another important aspect for collectors is storage. Since copper is reactive and easily tarnished, proper storage is key to preserving the beauty and value of these coins. Always handle coins by the edges to avoid fingerprints, and store them in a cool, dry environment. Acid-free holders or coin capsules can prevent corrosion and discoloration. Many collectors even use inert gas-filled cases for high-value specimens to keep them looking exactly as they did decades ago. As time goes on, the demand for vintage wheat pennies continues to rise. Younger collectors are entering the hobby, inspired by stories of coins found in old jars or inherited collections turning out to be worth thousands. The 1948 no-mint Mark Wheat penny remains a popular target because it sits at the perfect intersection of history, rarity, and affordability for mid-level collectors, until you find that one extraordinary specimen worth a small fortune. Now, imagine the thrill of discovering such a coin in your own collection. It could be sitting unnoticed in an old coin album, a family heirloom, or even a forgotten jar of change. That's what makes coin collecting so exciting. You never know what treasures you might already have. Every collector dreams of finding that one coin that changes everything, and for some, the 1948 penny has been exactly that. Experts believe that as the number of pristine 1948 pennies continues to shrink due to oxidation, mishandling, or simply being lost to time, the value of surviving examples will continue to climb. The combination of historical relevance, artistic beauty, and sheer rarity makes it a timeless investment. And while most pennies are spent and forgotten, this one stands as a symbol of patience and discovery. Even in circulated condition, a 1948 penny with no mint mark can still fetch between 15 cents and several dollars depending on grade. That might not seem like much, but it's far beyond its original face value of 1 cent. And when you reach the upper echelons of quality, the price difference becomes astronomical. From $1 to $82,983, that's the magic of numismatics.